Hello and welcome back, and that is right. Today I want to return to the subject of Synology and hard drive compatibility. It's a subject we seem to touch on here on the channel every month or so, and in 2022 and indeed 2023 and beyond, this is going to be a discussion I think a lot of business and enterprise users are going to be having internally. Just their IT teams talking to their purchasing teams, and ultimately a lot of people wondering if they go for a Synology Enterprise or business level solution. If they don't go for Synology hard drives, what does that mean? Does the brand support them? What does the system do? What are the features and services it can't have? Ultimately, when it comes to Synology Enterprise and business grade NAS and third-party hard drives, what can you do and what can't you do? And in today's video, what I'm going to be going through is a pile of third-party drives and Synology-owned hard drives. I'm going to be utilising the brand new DS2422, which we can see here just in the background. I'm aware that I'm ridiculously close to this system at the moment. I'm running a whole bunch of other tests here in the studio, and at the moment I'm unable to power this device down and move it around. So the amount of noise this system makes, I apologise in advance if it gets picked up in the recording there. It's very early here on a Wednesday morning here in the UK. I think it's the Platinum Jubilee week, so we've got a short week here in the UK, so I wanted to get this video recorded before I go on my own little blank holiday. But effectively, when Synology released their own range of hard drives, a lot of people kind of saw the writing on the wall that Synology, always a brand that has prioritised a lot of its own first-party accessories, such as, you know, accessory upgrade cards, memory upgrades, and more. The minute they released their own range of hard drives and SSDs, a lot of people were wondering about how things would change. Now, I can say right now, before you go any further in the video, and hopefully this video is chapterized below, I've only found like 2 things that can't be done with third-party drives that can be done with Synology's own hard drives in their systems, at least in this, the DS2422. Now, I should mention that disclaimer straight away. Not all Synology NASs will stop you or at least warn you about third-party hard drives. It is only systems currently released in the 2022 series. Additionally, only systems they class as high-end capacity enterprise or high-end capacity business. Now, a lot of us, when we looked at the 3622XS, were like, sure, fine, you know, that's enterprise. I'm not a big fan, but it's enterprise. And when the DS2422 arrived on the scene, a Plus series model, a number of us were like, whoa, pump the brakes. That's a Plus series model. What are you doing? But Synology do maintain that this is a high capacity business class unit, and therefore it falls into that remit of them saying they want the system to perform to these certain heights, and they can only guarantee these certain heights with their own hard drives. I'll leave it to you how you feel about that statement. But since then, we have seen a few 22 generation devices, the RS422 Plus and the DS1522 Plus. Both of these systems have got full compatibility lists to WD, Seagate, Ultrastar, X, you name it, Toshiba, they're all on there. So clearly this is something that's only being impacted on those enterprise level systems. Now, as mentioned, I've got a system here next to me that I've already populated with third-party drives, and not just a few either. You can already see here on the bottom right of my screen that we're seeing that warning message. Now, this is what you see if you use third-party drives, again, WD Red Pro, Ultrastar, Seagate Iron Wolf Pro, Exos, Toshiba, like all of them, effectively. And that is what you see. The system warns you. Now, if you're an IT admin and you know what you're doing and you understand the logic behind this, you're not going to be concerned. But if you're an IT admin or an installer, a techie, and you're installing this for your client, and then they boot it up, and then they see that warning, it can be, let's be honest, a little bit concerning. Now, it doesn't just extend to that. There's several areas in the OS where the system kind of says a little bit to you like, are you absolutely sure about this? Now, to put it into perspective, if we look in the storage manager of this NAS, you can see here that I have put in a lot of drives. Let's up the zoom on that. Now, as you can see there, at the top, we've got Synology's own hard drives. I've got 4 16 TB drives, the unit, and the drives were supplied by CCL, a UK electronics e-shop. Again, they're linked in the description. Thanks so much for lending me this, you guys. Again, check them out, links in the description. But there you go, subtle plug, wasn't it? On the top there, we've got those 4 Synology 16 TB drives. I've already put these in their own storage pool there. As you can see, they're still in the process of being built there. Again, it's a long old one, hence why I wanted to get the video out of the way before a long UK bank holiday. But again, that is an SHR there running with those. So this is a system that has an SHR, Synology Hybrid RAID mixed drives, but at the same time, it doesn't really like you using third-party drives. And Synology's hard drive range, one of the criticisms people have for it is the capacity range available. Currently available in 4, 8, 12 and 16 TB. Just 4 capacities. When people want a bit of flexibility. How much flexibility? Well, as you can see, I've installed all manner of drives in this. I've got an 8 TB WD Red Pro. I've got a 4 TB WD Red. I've got a Seagate 4 TB Ironwolf. I've got a Seagate 14 TB Ironwolf Pro. I've got a 14 TB Exos, and I've got a WD, I believe, Red Plus drive in there at 4 TB. Now, I'm just going to show you what happens when you install some third-party drives. I've got an UltraStar here, and I've got an Exos drive here. So let's go ahead and install those in. I'm going to put the Exos in first, and again, we're going to do this twice so you can see. So going to pop that in there. It's going to take a few seconds to initialize, so again about 10-15 seconds perhaps, and you're going to see a little breakdown of what happens when you use these third-party drives. We will build a volume shortly and sort of go through it there, but the drive's spinning up. You're probably going to hear it. It's an enterprise drive, not the quietest, but that's in Bay 10, so hopefully Bay 10 should refresh in just a moment, and we should also see a notification if I'm right, and there we go, right there at the top, straight away. Drive 10 is not on the Synology compatibility list, it warns you, and as you can see, Drive 10 is now being listed as an unverified drive. And again, we'll do that again just for the hell of it. We've got an UltraStar there, pop that in, and as it goes through that, I can give you a little look at, say, this 8 TB drive. So on this 8 TB drive, we can look at the health information there, and again, Synology have been a little bit flexible in DSM 7.1, it has to be said. I mentioned in the introduction to this video, so, there's only 2 things I could find that you can't do with non-Synology drives there as our other drive being identified. So as you can see, when you go into it, they have added smart testing there, so you can extend SMART testing there, as well as run the updates on smart. On these third-party drives, you've got the log and history information there. If we look at the drives that we've now added, we've got that new WD down there at the bottom. Go into the health info, and again, it's displayed there. Smart info there, history there, all nice and straightforward. But one thing you may wonder, the first thing I noticed that wasn't there, if we go into the Seagate Ironwolf drive and go to the health info, where's our Seagate Ironwolf health management? One of the little extras that are included in those Seagate drives. Above and beyond smart, it's another way to diagnostically and just run a test on a drive to see how it's doing. And as you can see, the option's not there. There's meant to be another option right here that lets you use the Seagate Ironwolf Health Management, and it's not on screen. Now, again, I've not tested multiple NASs. I've not tested multiple systems. So if you do own a 2.2 series NAS that has these much more limited compatibility listings, do me a favour, if you've got some Seagate Ironwolves, double check and see if that's in there. Because again, I've not had a chance to check another system, but I've got 2 Seagate Ironwolves in there, and neither one of them are showing me that. Now, if we look into another drive, let's pick arbitrarily let's go for the WD Red Plus drive. You can go ahead and run benchmarks. That's the other thing that you're allowed now to do, all of the different configuration options that you would expect. If you go into the benchmarking tool there, and if we cycle along, one of these drives I have committed a test on already. And as you can see, because I thought I'd do it in advance because it takes ages, this is the WD Red 8 TB Pro. You can run their benchmarking tool on it. There's no limitations on the benchmarking tool. All of those configurations and options are there. You can even roll and use, let's go for another arbitrary drive, the 14 TB Red Pro, and you select the Manage Availability option. Again, you can add it to an existing RAID, add it as a hot spare, change the RAID configuration if you've got one, or create a new storage pool. So at the moment, as you can see, those Synology drives being 16 TB means that because I haven't got any 16 TBs here in the studio, I can't add it as a hot spare to these drives. So if I try to add it as a hot spare here, I can add it to storage pool 2, but storage pool 2 is a single drive configuration there. But again, you have the option to access these drives easily, and again, because I'm utilizing our secondary RAID pool in an unconventional way, that's the only reason we're not able to use that. But let's use these third-party drives to create a pool to see what happens. So now we're going to go into the storage pool area, and we're going to create our brand new storage pool. From here, we're going to click Next. Again, we're going to select an SHR, and we're going to, actually, just so we can differentiate it, let's call it third party. And again, just to keep things nice and smooth, we're going to go with a couple of 4 TBs, but because of SHR, we're going to go ahead. And again, I do not advise you do this. I'm going to mix up a WD Red and a WD Red Plus drive. Again, don't do this. I'm just showing it to you for this. Click Next. And as you can see, the NAS is keen to tell you that these drives are not on the compatibility list. And as you can see, it will still let us continue, which is key there. But it does still warn us that compatibility is something on this drive that Synology are not prepared to state right now on this system. So again, perform a drive check. Again, I do recommend you do that normally, but we're skipping it for this video. We can go ahead, and it's going to go ahead and create our SHR there. And after this, we're able to create the volumes. All the usual features and services of Synology Storage Manager are available to us here. As we see, we can go to the bottom. It's now starting to build our little SHR there. As you can see, our other pool, which is just a single drive, hence why we couldn't add the hot spare. Again, we can run the data scrubbing. All of those options are available. From there, within the storage pool and the volume, creating a volume is nice and straightforward. So if we go ahead and create ourselves a volume from there, again, we're using that pool 3 that we've created with the 2 4s. Again, we can give it max capacity. Again, third, and let's call it vol. Click Next. Make it BTRFS. Doesn't stop you having BTRFS on third-party drives. Go ahead and click Apply. And there you go. Third-party drives are not barring you from creating those volumes. Now, I mentioned 2 things that you're not able to do. The first one there, of course, was Seagate Iron Wolf Health Management. And again, the other one is far more Synology specific. If you go into the hard drives area there, if you select any drive from here, you can go into Action and you can check for a firmware update. And then what happens is, Synology have that database of firmware updates for their drives that they can install on the system. And again, this is not a feature that's enabled on third-party drives, but it still shows that message. As you can see, it only highlights Synology drives. Now, again, a number of us, probably myself included on balance, would agree that I wouldn't expect them to support this feature on third-party drives in the storage manager, because they'd have to keep track of thousands upon thousands of firmware updates for a borderline infinite number of hard drives. So them not including this feature is somewhat understandable. It's still a feature that's advertised, but it's advertised to Synology's own hard drive. So again, I'm not going to be too critical about that too much. And again, all of this extends very well to pretty much all of the settings that we would expect from Synology Storage Manager with these third-party drives. So let's move on to my next section where we're going to look at file management and file handling on third-party drives on this system. Next up, let's look at the basic tools of DSM that apply to storage. So straight away off the bat, we can look at Resource Monitor. Resource Monitor, again, there's no barring there on what you can see. If you can go into Disks area there, you can go into Details, and again, it allows you to monitor all of the available disks. So if I go ahead and click it there, again, we'll have to remove one because it's got a limited number of drives it can see. Just remove a few drives from there. Go ahead, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Learn to count, Rob. And again, as you can see, it doesn't bar you from utilizing and monitoring those drives within the storage manager there. Again, the same goes if you want to use some of the tools like Storage Analyzer. Storage Analyzer, again, won't bar you from utilizing and seeing these third-party drive pools and volumes there. Again, the usage, because that primary storage is still in its RAID synchronization state, that's why that bar's higher. But as you can see, it doesn't bar you from seeing those. Now, if we go into the control center and we look at, say, for example, we were going to store a lot of data on there and we want to make sure the system is indexing these, we can go into the indexing service. And then from there, we're able to see by indexing folders, click create, click select, we've got access to this shared folder here. And as you can see, it's the test folder, which again, if we make our way into File Station, we go into the test folder, click right, click properties, and we can see test is on volume 2. And volume 2 is, of course, if we make our way back into the storage manager, volume 2 is our third-party hard drive compatibility there. So again, we've got access, the shared folders are accessible. So again, with a shared folder, you can then just do, file access, drag and drop, and more. And again, when we look at the indexing there, we can go ahead and add that. There's no warning, there's no problem. Bang, we're able to add that there with absolutely no problems. And although we already touched on it there, I will reiterate that you can go ahead and create new shared folders on any of these volumes. So if we call this third share, go ahead, and as you can see, we can use that brand new volume we created, leave in a recycle bin, click next. We don't actually, do you know what? Let's encrypt it for the hell of it, just to show that the feature's available. And again, let's put that in. Again, we're not going to do too many data checks there in the background. It's just going to generate the key for us. And again, there's nothing stopping us on these third-party drives going ahead with the shared pool. Again, just in case we need it for any of the apps later in the video. And bang, we've got our third-party share. It's all there. So these limitations of third-party drives have lessened significantly in DSM 7.1 as far as these systems and services go. So next up, we're going to make our way into the Application Center and look at some of the key apps just to make sure that all of these apps still have access to the third-party storage pools and storage volumes, just to make sure that Synology isn't going to impose any limit on those. Now, when it comes to utilizing applications on the system, once again, I'm pleased to confirm that I couldn't find any limitation or any barrier between using any of the Synology first-party applications and utilizing storage pools and volumes comprising of third-party drives. If we go into the settings area there, you're able to see about default volumes, whether you want to utilize a specific volume for applications to be immediately installed onto, which again is great stuff there. There's no limitation, nothing stopping users using volumes just because the system is claiming them to be less than suitable. So if we go ahead and just click an installation on any application here that people might use. So let's go with, download station. Why the hell not? Because you might be utilizing a storage server for downloads. And as you can see, we can select that volume we created. We can click next and we can install that app. And it's going to go ahead and download and install download station there in the background, running from that third-party pool and volume there. Now, obviously, I've installed a few applications in advance of this. So if we come out of here and make our way into that main menu, I've installed some of probably the more frequently accessed applications here on the system. So, for example, we can go into the SAN manager for those of you that are intending to use business class storage like the DS2422 Plus for, iSCSI targets and a bunch of LUNs. And as you can see there, we can go ahead, go into the LUN manager, click create, and name of the LUN there, description, space allocation, volume, and boom, there is our third volume. It doesn't limit us from utilizing that third volume that we've created there that's based on those third-party drives in the pool. Again, coming out of the SAN manager there, we can make our way into another application and make our way into Hyper Backup. Hyper Backup, that application back and forth tool there. And again, we can go ahead and create our Hyper Backup tool there. And with Hyper, we can go ahead and say we're going to back up to, just for the hell of it, a remote NAS device. And then from there, come out of it, we can see that it doesn't prevent us from utilizing the core internal storage there. But again, without linking to a cloud service provider, it's going to be hard to see there. Now, if we come out, we can go into our next application while we're running all of these tools in the background. Virtual Machine Manager. A lot of business users are going to want to take advantage of, deploying virtual machines. This system, it's a quad-core Ryzen AMD embedded V1500B, but it's a 4-core 8-thread processor, so a lot of virtual CPUs to play with there. And if we look at the storage area, you're able to see that I have based that storage pool there. If we manage that pool, oh, wrong one. Let's go in. Oh no, it's going to do a thing where it keeps opening up in a new tab. We don't want that. If we edit the storage area there, have a little look. We've only got that storage. Let's go ahead and create a brand new storage area there. And as you can see, there's volume 3, just like before. So again, we can go ahead and add this to our existing area of virtual machine manager there. So again, no limitations to utilizing that storage pool within. Then you've got Surveillance Station, if we make our way into it there. And then from Surveillance Station, again, I've already tested this out. I've got into the recording area. I haven't set up any cameras or anything yet. But when you go into the recording area, you're able to see that you can take advantage of the areas available to you. So if you go into the storage, you can see I've got one there. We'll add a new area of storage. Again, we'll use an existing storage folder. There's our third share that we created earlier. And boom, we are now adding that new storage volume that we created earlier to Surveillance Station. So again, if we add cameras, we're able to just go ahead and add all of that in whenever we want to. So again, Surveillance Station, no limitations there whatsoever. Synology Drive. If we go into Synology Drive, and indeed we're going to need to go into Synology Drive console, we can go into the team folder, and as you can see, we can go ahead and enable that third share. So again, no limitations. We can still go ahead and utilize Synology Drive in contact with that third-party drive comprised pool and volume. All enabled there. We can go ahead, refresh, and we'll be able to see that third share within Synology Drive. So that means you're going to be able to map it locally and take advantage of all of that file on demand, file pinning, file streaming services of Synology Drive. Hell, you've even got access to universal search that allows you to just search all of this. So if we're going with third, search for it there. And as you can see, there's no limitation there of utilizing those systems and services. Now, again, these applications are just a tip of the iceberg. Pretty much all of the apps that I've seen so far, everything from the storage-based ones to individual applications and even third-party ones like Plex Media Server, all of these allow you to utilize the third-party drive media that's in the pool and the volume, which again brings us right the way around to the beginning when we ask, so what exactly does compatibility and incompatibility mean? If we're getting slowly and surely all of the services with these drives on these 22 series options, then why is Synology persisting with this? Well, I think there's a few reasons for it. One, as far as they're concerned when it comes to their enterprise solutions, Synology clearly have got an eye on that top tier, the EMCs, your HPs, your NetApps, your more. These top tier brands, they are all first party. They're all in-house. All of their drives, all of their accessories are borderline proprietary. They may not be proprietary in the original creation, but by the rebranding and their distribution, they are first party. And that's very much the case we have with a lot of these top tier solutions from Synology. And it's their way, I believe, of making sure that they can say that this system can do these things. And perhaps it is a case, as mentioned before in discussions with Synology that we've talked about before in the article, again, should be linked in the description about Synology hard drives, where they want to be able to emulate their end user setups in the case of any kind of support or troubleshooting, and therefore there's a lot of variables with third-party drives. Personally, I'm not a big fan of that, if that is true, and I don't wholeheartedly agree with it, if it is. But, again, that top tier, a lot of buyers in that marketplace up there, they are kind of used to the kind of, I'm not going to use words like monopoly, but they're very much used to the controlled architecture of of the hardware that they provide in terms of storage, those hybrid solutions. They do include other services that Synology doesn't quite have, like the 24/7 support lines. But Synology is still continuing in that direction. It wouldn't surprise me if something like that got rolled out at Synology 2023 or something. But for now, I can see that in DSM 7.1, I should probably show that off actually, which version of DSM that we're running on this system. If we look at DSM 7.1, here we can see that right now, this system, you can use third-party hard drives, and although you're going to get the warning, which again is up to you, and don't tell me about on Reddit how people have been able to change the settings and remove that. You don't really want to do that with a professional installation. You can do that in your home installation if you're sick of that message, but I would still never recommend that in a professional installation that you get. They get one firmware update and it undoes the work. But again, when it comes to third-party drive installation, you can use them right now. You're just going to have to put up with that warning and question marks regarding if something goes wrong, which again is, I think, the nub of the matter for many. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Again, we've got a full article linked in the description where we've highlighted every single feature that we've checked. There's a few extras that I didn't include in today's video, so I recommend you check that out. If you've enjoyed the video or found it helpful, then do click like. It genuinely helps the channel. There's no dislike button anymore. When YouTube removed it, you know, YouTube has got hurt by that as well. It's annoying because then you guys don't bother clicking it because, you know, why would you click it if it's ineffective? No one can see it, and therefore we don't see the negative. We only see the positive. So if you've enjoyed the video, click like. Thank you so much. If you want to learn more as we explore both the DS2422 Plus and the entire subject of Synology and compatibility, then click subscribe moving forward. And again, thank you so much. Once again, here comes the plug to CCL for supplying us with both the unit and the drives. It's been really helpful. Check them out. Link in the description. I've shopped with them before. Loads of us in the UK have. But thank you so much for watching. Use the free advice section. Use the links to the articles, and I'll see you next time.